You can't be angry without the need to be right. Needing to be right without the need to feel righteous. And you can't need to be right or feel righteous if you're removing what about me.
If you are afraid of judgment, if you're afraid of fear, it does impact the way you see the world, how you look at investments. And I'm sure you know, scared money don't make money. I feel like I have this incredible skill of like knowing how to pick them. But then there's also like knowing when to sell and managing your own cash position so that you're not being forced to sell.
You're not starting with the story of a great relationship to a company. If this was dating, I started dating a dumbass, but I turned to this dumbass who was cheating on me, who was this, who was that, who was everything else into a fucking gold mine. And, now he's the perfect husband. Business and life are not that dissimilar. They can just operate fast. Welcome back to Problems to Profit. Guys, I have another exciting guest today, and already she's made me blush today. Like, I guess I should start this show by saying, do I look good and blush? Like, she just kind of looked at herself. She was like, all right, got to make sure I'm like positioned well. Like, how's my ass? And I was like, whoa. Like, I'm the guy that triggers people, and she triggered me. It was fucking awesome. I mean, talk about fun. And we're sitting talking just a little bit before the show. Another guest I did not have the privilege of knowing first. So I really get to like explore you through this show, which is fun. And she has a mission that I just love. She wants to help women, students, and healers become financially successful. And those are three of the population groups that don't always focus on money. In fact, I think they know they need it, but it's got more of a scarcity energy to it than a, hey, this is something I can go and energetically leverage to my own success. So I love the mission you're going with. And we're going to be talking a little bit about investing, a little bit about, I'm sure, energy, a little bit about like fun and playfulness, and a whole bunch of other things that I think you're going to bring to the show. So without further ado, welcome, Tulin Tran. I'm so glad to have you on.
Hi, Preston. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's my pleasure. And like, Our mutual friend spoke so highly, I literally had to stop her and be like, don't tell me anything. I don't want to know. Like, I like going into these episodes, and it's fun to interview people you know as well. So sorry for any friends that are watching that I knew you before that you were on the show. But I really have just like this fun getting to know somebody where it's going to be live, like where you're seeing the real them.
We're
like the camera
into the
does
mystery.
something. Yeah, it's a blast. So, Problems to Profit, I always like to start with kind of the story. What were the problems that were your gift? What were the problems that were your guide? What took you from maybe that pain story to where you are now? But before we get there, let's talk the ending. You just told me I'm, selling real estate. I'm doing this. I'm raising capital. I'm give us a little bit of the ending so that everybody can judge the story by the ending.
Okay.
And then right as we got them judgy, we'll go beginning to end.
Okay. So I've had 2 exits, and these were my first 2 angel investments. So 2 out of 2, which is like almost unheard of. So one was acquired by private equity. My first angel investment that I joined as the first investor and co-founder. And the other, my second angel investment, IPO'd.
Wow.
So that was both at the end of 2021.
2 exits. That is unheard of. I think I've done 3 different angel investments, if you want to call them that. I call them devil investments because I've had no exits. And I don't think the money's there anymore. Do you have a guardian angel that like I could like tap into for my next one? Like, that's awesome.
Well, we're going to hear how I did a lot of things wrong. And in both situations, they were kind of like lightning in a bottle. And we're going to talk about how I know how to pick them. And I'm going to teach you how to pick them. But that's only a part of the investing story.
Okay. I love it. I'm excited. So 2 exits, big money, exciting stuff. So now that we've got everybody like judgy and okay, well, she's young, she's cute, she's rich, I hate her. Now let's go through
Yes.
how did we get here?
Yeah.
How did we go from problems to the prophet you are today?
Yeah. Oh, I love this. I love this. So I was a very broke teenager. We had grown up poor. We were refugees from Vietnam.
Okay.
And we were in New York City. So anybody that lives in the outer boroughs of New York City always dreams of going to Manhattan. And that was also my dream. And how was I going to do it when we were getting government food? How was I going to have like a downtown apartment? And so minimum wage was like $4 and change or something at the time. And I was just saving like $20, $40, like towards this apartment. And maybe after a year, I would have saved like $1,000 or $2,000, which is like 1 month's rent, that you're sharing with like 4 other friends. So I'm like, how is this going to work? And so because we were so poor, we had no babysitters or nannies. And our instructions after school, me and my brother, was to go to the library, and they would pick us up when the library closed. And so my first investing teachers.
Okay, so you were literally the babysitter was the public library employee.
The public library.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm already gelling with this story. Keep going.
Yeah, in like pre-Giuliani New York City. So these were like, it was like rough streets, for like little kids to be walking around.
So we're not going to ask you your body count then.
You mean how many people I've shanked?
Yeah, but you don't have to tell. Like we're this will be on air like after the show, okay?
Yeah, after the show. Yeah. Yeah, so my first investing teachers were like Peter Lynch, Charlie Munger, like books that I had borrowed from the library. And because it was New York City, so it was a little bit like in the water that like we swam in, like the backdrop of Wall Street.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had in my mind, like, I want to get into stock market investing because as a middle schooler, we did like that stock market game. And I was pretty good at it. I remember my performance was like the 3rd in the class or something like that. So that's what I did. I saved like a couple $100, and I asked my dad if he could invest for me. And then I was off to the races.
How old were you at this point where you're doing your first stock market investment? You saved a few $100. Like what's the age range there?
17.
Okay. And so by the age of 17, living in pre-Giuliani New York, which, by the way, Giuliani nowadays is probably looked at differently because of like, politics and who he's associated with and all of that. But pre-Giuliani New York, for anybody that doesn't know like the history, Giuliani solved a crime problem that looked terminal to the city at the time. And he did so radically quickly. Like it had gotten so rough and so bad that like it was literally unsafe to walk down the streets, depending on the area of town you were in. And so New York City, which is kind of like the shining jewel of New York State, it's kind of the only thing that keeps it worth being a state, was falling off a cliff. And so when she says pre-Giuliani and I was babysit by the public library, like there's some stress there. There's some pain there. There's like that's a big thing. Like, and my question, you said Vietnamese refugees.
Mm-hmm.
So were you already born when your parents came over, or
yeah.
Like how old were you for that journey?
Yeah. So I was born in Vietnam. And we were one of the boat people that came over after the war because my father had fought for the South Vietnamese army, the losing side. And so they were sending people that supported the South to like re-education camps. I don't know if you learned about that in history class.
Very briefly mentioned.
Yeah, well, they would collect people that supported the South and send them to these re-education camps, never to be seen again. And so, my father, after I was born, he knew he had to get us out.
talk about a hero story, but probably a tremendous amount of stress there as well.
Yeah, yeah. Leaving in like the middle of the night, selling all of your belongings to get passage on like a little dinghy that he told me would capsize over and over again.
I have a very close friend that remembers the boat ride, and the boat got
Oh my
lost at
gosh.
sea,
Mm.
and she and I were part of a group together, and she's like, about 3 days into getting lost, and it was 3 days past when we were supposed to get to where we were going, and there was nothing but water, and you couldn't see the horizon. We all kind of knew that we were going to die, and like she has this story, and I think she was super young at the time, like 10 or 11 years old or less, and I'm sitting there as like, I'd never loved the word privilege, right? But like, I'm realizing for the first time, like, what privilege means. Like, I didn't have that level of stress, and I'm sitting there like, oh my God, like, how are you 10 years old or less? I don't remember her exact age. And you're already accepting, like, well, this is probably the end.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So your story is starting out, wow. So we're going from getting out of what is absolutely a living hell, like where at least your father and
Yeah.
potentially the family is not going to survive.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting on a little dinghy and probably going through something who's not unperilous on a journey.
Yes.
Lots of high risk.
Mm-hmm.
Getting to the United States somehow.
Yeah. Well, we went around to like Southeast Asia because it's a little dinghy, so it can't,
Right.
cross the Pacific. Landed in like Singapore, Indonesia, where they had lots of refugee camps, because there was, hundreds of thousands of Vietnamese who were fleeing. So we were in refugee camps, which, you've seen, they're very difficult. And my father had to barter, with like physical labor or whatever to like get some food for my mother so that she could like breastfeed me. So not easy, but that's why I'm so grateful to this country that gave us political asylum.
I am like, so it's you, mom and dad, or are there other siblings too?
Yeah, me, mom, and dad.
Just you, mom and dad. Okay.
Mhm.
You're a baby at this point if mom's breastfeeding.
Mm-hmm.
And how long was the journey out of Vietnam to the United States? Was this like 6 months, a year, 3 years?
Yeah.
What was like this process like?
Eventually we got to the Philippines, and then, there's a military base there. So then we got a plane flight to Lower East Side, New York City.
Wow, how cool. And then from like, here's probably where it starts turning, getting better. Here's a man who's literally A, survived war, B, survived a refugee situation, like C, protected his family through the refugee situation and found a way. Like all of these things are significant, and many people don't survive any single one of them. And then he gets all the way to New York. So like, this is where the story starts becoming some level of upside. He's able to get some type of job, career, like maintain some level of stability at this point. So it probably, even though you're growing up poor, like I want to like capitalize on this part of the story for everybody who's going to be watching, because you're growing up poor, but you're growing up in heaven compared to the hell that you started in.
Yeah, it really was very much the land of opportunity.
And then you're getting babysat by librarians because there's no money to pay librarians. But what a fucking gift, because you're sitting down and reading books by Charlie Munger. You're reading about the greats. You're learning about the possibilities in this crazy country that accepted a bunch of people that were on a dinghy or a raft, 10 years earlier. How cool. Talk about like both sides of the equation.
Yes.
You're getting mentorship off of pages from a man who'd be untouchable to anybody that didn't realize he's written everything he's ever done in a book.
Yeah, and that was like born from my dream of wanting to live in Manhattan, shiny Manhattan, Broadway and Fifth Avenue.
Well, if they started out judging you with your 2 exits and, well, she's rich and she's pretty, I hate her. Now we're going to be moving into like, holy fuck, I'm glad I didn't have to survive that story.
We
Or-
grew up in the projects.
Maybe your problems would make you a prophet and your story could be amazing as well. The biggest problem most of us have in life is we think we shouldn't have any fucking problems. It's a real issue,
Yes.
you know? So now sorry, I had to like keep on that side. I'm having so much fun with you, Tulin. This is really cool. And there's just crazy polarities there to my buddy who, like, you know, we literally traveled the world together. She became a wild success story and she was literally lost at sea. Similar situation, like exact.
Yeah.
Like
The immigrant story is, yeah.
Well, and the immigrant story is interesting because, like, you come in and you say, I love this country. I'm so grateful for this country. And we haven't even gotten to some of the other bumps on your path, which you'd have reason to be frustrated, right? But almost every immigrant that I've ever talked to is grateful to be here. People that are born here criticize this place so much. And the common theme is none of them have ever been anywhere else. And if they have been anywhere else, it was at a resort, which is not a great depiction of what the place really looks like.
Yes.
Like, you know, I love going to Mexico. Like, I love doing it. Go to the resort, have a great time. It's fine. I like to stay at the resorts.
Eat their version of fajitas.
Yeah. But then, you know, go to the projects and, you know, maybe see what it really looks like. Like, see how people live in riverbeds and things like that during flood season, their houses are gone. Like, and this is just a standard. This is a normal thing. Like, people haven't traveled out, yet they hate it here where we have it all. And you're coming on my show. I'm so grateful already saying, I love this country, like land of opportunity. And we've only gotten to like you're 17 years old with $100 in the stock market. We're nowhere close to the 2 exits yet.
Yeah.
So $100 in the stock market, 17 years old. Take us further.
Yeah. Well, it was $500.
Oh, 500.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm undercutting you.
It was $500. And one of my first investments in 1997 was Amazon. Okay. So I think the average cost per share was under $1. I think it was way under $1, but I can't remember now. And I remember my dad saying, and I think they were considered like Web 1.0 like stocks. And he was like, these are so risky. And I'm like, no, Dad, these companies are changing the world, like PayPal, eBay. And I knew that. And this is going to get a little interesting too, because I was a gamer. So I always had my eye on technology because better technology meant better gameplay.
Okay.
So I meant like better graphics, a more immersive experience, high latency, you know, no lag. These are like terms any gamer knows. So I always had my eye towards technology. So when it was like Amazon, I'm like, oh my God. And I was, of course, a prolific reader. So I was like, you can buy books on the internet, you know, instead of like, you know, anybody that's spent time in New York knows the weather is not great there. It's like winter 6 months of the year. I don't have to go to, you know, Barnes and Nobles to get a book. I don't have to go to the library. I could like buy it online. That to me, I knew was going to change the world because it was something that I was interested in. And then we'll get into like some more of my like early wins and how that formed the basis of my framework called intuitive investing.
Okay, I like it. Intuitive investing. Sounds spiritually leading in. Okay, so you had like a knowing on Amazon, but it was from the framework of something that wasn't necessarily connected to business or books. It was connected to the tech side of gaming and play.
And my real life.
Wow. Play is such a fascinating thing. Like, I think any company with good culture has figured out that the companies that need a bad guy, you got to have some enemy. Oh, I'm in the foxhole against that guy in that foxhole, and oh, you're on my team, so we're in this foxhole together.
Yeah.
They must, like, all the employees and the leaders must not have had kids. Like, you know, it's funny because if I take my kids to the park, they're not in a foxhole against any of the other kids at the park. Like, they have 10 best friends. Like, they're all playing later. And like, so here's this play story, which is really cool. Sorry, I want to point out this little synchronicity because I think we're going to go on a kind of a spiritual business investing show here,
Oh my
which would
gosh,
be a
I
little
can't
fun.
wait.
But you start with play.
Yeah.
And it gives you a knowing on something that becomes an investment that gets you a reward. Is there any theme here? How did some of your other investments start?
Well, what is genius about that, like the play part, is that it really removes a very big barrier to investing, and that is the fear part.
Okay.
I would say most people who are not investors now, they would tell you their number one excuse is fear. And so if you noticed something with your powers of observation, or it could be through play, then you're not thinking about if I put money behind this company that I'm going to risk losing my investment. It feels like I'm supporting this company that has, given me so much.
Awesome. That synchronicities. I was literally talking in a previous show we just filmed about this, and I think there's 4 languages. Business is a spiritual game. If you play it right, investing I think could be a spiritual game too. Although I've not done that spiritually, I just pay somebody to do it for me. But it's the mind divides, the heart connects, the body feels, the soul knows. And these are these 4 languaging channels
beautiful.
that I think we can hit in every direction. And I think the beginning of spirituality is removing this question what about me from every aspect of your life?
Mm-hmm.
Now, the kids that don't go play at the playground, they're like, ooh, what if I get judged? What if this? What if that? They don't have it. They don't have that what about me. They've replaced, it's like they're born with this what about we question. Oh, I'm going to go be included.
Oh, yes.
And then as people, we develop a what about me question.
Mm-hmm.
And we lose some of that spirituality that kids naturally have. And it's fascinating to see. And when you can remove the what about me and you can play, it's just worth mentioning on multiple shows. Removing what about me takes you into this really delicious space where you're not going to be angry and you're not going to be scared. You can't be angry without the need to be right. And you can't be needing to be right without the need to feel righteous. And you can't need to be right or feel righteous if you're removing what about me.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't fear loss if you're removing what about me. If you're asking the what about we
Absolutely.
question, it's so profound. We're mentioning it on multiple shows, and I love the common themes. I love the synchronicities. I have to just gravitate and stop there a little bit. Play removes fear. Talk about a great trigger.
Yeah.
Tulin, I'm having fun. Keep going. What else?
So, the shamans will spend their entire life trying to remove the feeling of self-importance. Because, like you were saying, if you are afraid of judgment, if you're afraid of fear, that really does impact the way you see the world, whether it's the playground or to investments, how you look at investments. And I'm sure scared money don't make money.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if you might have done all the due diligence and have put maybe what you consider a small amount, $200 on Google stock or whatever, but you're so scared of losing it, chances are you're going to manifest that. There's going to be a down day and then you're going to be like, oh my God, I knew it. The sky is falling. And then you pull out only to have it rebound, the week after.
Mm-hmm. And then it'll be up 20% in 6 months. And you're like, why did I sell?
Yes. Because that fear and that judgment and all of this self-importance really does affect how you perceive things in the real world, including investments.
Okay. So I'm really enjoying this, and that scared money don't make money. I hadn't heard it put that way before, but I love that, so I'm going to totally steal that quote.
Yeah.
So 17, $500 in the stock market. Amazon's the first big play.
Mm-hmm.
You're welcome, Jeff Bezos. Now we're plugging you on our show. And this leads to what? Where do we go from here?
Oh
You've
my
saved a little money.
gosh.
You're looking at a goal of this apartment, but where are we at now?
So I went down the path of where millions of good Asian daughters have gone down. And that was, I was going to be a medical doctor. And, to make my parents proud for all, their hard work to get us here and, put clothes on our backs and a roof over our head. And I just could not do like physical chemistry. I couldn't do it. My mind didn't work that way. And what I really wanted was just to help people. And so I dropped pre-med. My mom cried for like a week. But I discovered something else. I was like, oh, there's something called social work. And I was like, I can help people without having to go to like too much more schooling. I could just like graduate and like start helping people right away. But nobody told me, Preston, that they don't make any money.
I was just thinking that was in my head. I was like, so you chose being broke.
I know, I chose being broke. But I was, I was naive. I had no, other than the books that I myself was picking up, there was no one guiding me. And my parents were working, 12 to 14 hours a day. And so that was such a big wake-up call. My first salary was like $18,000 or $20,000 a year in New York City. Yeah. Before taxes. So like the dream of the apartment is like getting like further and further away.
The social workers get to help people, but they might also need the help.
I know. And then I was like, how is this going to work? And that's when I really doubled down on investing because I had seen with my own eyes the power of compound investing and compound interest, which is the eighth wonder of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And so now that I was making a little bit of money, it was more than I made before, but it was still very small. I just really doubled down on the skill of investing.
Okay, I like that. The skill of investing. Let's dive into that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I believe there is a skill in business. I believe there's a skill in everything. If you were to have become that perfect Asian daughter medical doctor,
Mm-hmm.
You want to go to the doctor with the skill, not the one without, right? Like
Yes.
you want to be the doctor with skill.
Mhm.
But let's talk about the skill of investing because that's a specific set of words that let's dive into that a little bit.
Yeah. So, like, for example, I feel like I have this incredible skill of like knowing how to pick them,
Mm-hmm.
like pick founders to back or stocks, to start trading positions on. I feel like I have that ability through my intuition and some of the other things we'll talk about later.
Okay. So
But
knowing how
then-
to pick them.
Yeah. But then there's also like knowing when to sell and managing your own cash position so that you're not being forced to sell or you don't freak out when there's like a big drawdown. Like with the tariffs, earlier this year, that was a huge buying opportunity, but I can't tell you how many people like freaked out and, probably sold when, they should have been buying.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So
I really
yeah.
had some fun with Tesla through those tariffs.
I know, I saw. So those are all skills that you will learn through your own experience of investing.
So the skill of investing is kind of picking stocks, knowing when to sell, and then understanding like some cash management. Like
Yeah.
if you're using margin or something, you don't want to get squeezed down to the point that you're forced. I think is that what you meant by like
Yes.
being forced?
Yes. Because when you're forced, like your investment hypothesis could be correct. Like take Tesla, for example, like you repurchase like at a low price, but say, you weren't managing your own cash position and you got hit by, either by accident or because you weren't looking, like a huge tax bill. And then now you're like, oh crap, I owe the IRS $100K. I have to sell Tesla maybe they had one down day and you would have taken a loss, but your investment thesis would have been correct. It's just that you didn't manage your own cash position and now you're forced to sell, to pay the IRS or
I feel like that's a common theme in most investors
Mhm.
or amateur investors like myself. Like I am a hell of a businessman, but I would call myself an amateur investor. Like the only investments I've really done very well on are businesses where I can like look at, reach out, touch, sometimes grab and shake the owner who I am investing with because there's like a level of proximity. Those investments I've done phenomenal on.
Yeah.
When it comes to picking, like I want to pick your brain and know what's the magic in the stocks.
Well, that's what I'll get to that, but that's kind of like what Warren Buffett does with his like baseball analogy.
And cigar butts, right?
Well, I don't know. I hadn't heard the cigar butts, but he says that you don't have to swing at like every pitch. If like you just stay within your strike zone, which is like the businesses that you like, and when the ball comes within your strike zone, then you can go pretty heavy. You don't have to swing at every pitch.
No, I love it. Yeah. I read a book on Warren Buffett and he made that reference. And he referenced like, what did he call him when he was buying Berkshire Hathaway? I thought it was cigar butts, and I might be off, but it was like cigar butt companies. Like people would like light the cigar but leave it there, and so it was like you could almost cut off the burnt end and sell it as a brand new cigar if it was a long enough cigar. Like there was still plenty of burn rate through this company where you could buy them, merge them, like stack them up, sell them, all this like, and. I can only now picture that that's a horrible analogy of people picking up cigars out of ashtrays. I don't know why that analogy stuck in my head. So okay. So knowing how to pick them, at what stage did we get the dream of the apartment in New York or?
Yeah. So one day in like my mid-20s, I woke up through the power of compound interest with a 6-figure portfolio on a $20,000 salary.
Wow. And
so, yes, I got the apartment, which is very expensive still to this day. It was a 2-bedroom on Avenue B, right next to a men's halfway house.
You're selling it.
Yeah. And it was $2,500 for me. And so $2,500 for my roommate. So it was a $5,000 a month apartment.
Now, we're, for context, sitting in Austin, Texas, where Austin's a more expensive market. But
Austin is a more expensive market.
$5,000 buys you a decent amount of real estate monthly here. Like to think about a 2-bedroom apartment for $5,000
next to a men's halfway house.
Next to a halfway house. Like, I mean, that just tells you like this was a while back. Like, what New York real estate was doing even at that point and is still doing at this time. It's just that.
Yes.
Like that wasn't the most expensive flat you could buy, but we hit the dream.
We hit the dream. Yeah.
Do you still have it?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you local resident now in Austin?
I am.
Okay.
I am. Yeah. It's been 4 years and I love it.
Awesome. Welcome. As a home builder, welcome to Texas. I like to joke that, I drive to California every time they're working on getting Gavin Newsom reelected and I vote for him so he keeps sending more people. And I should go to New York and do the same there. Like we are getting so many people that are not from here that are just such welcome additions because they have such cool stories and they bring so much to the table. And look, we don't want to replicate the $5,000 bullshit apartment next to the halfway house. You just let us know like your feedback and we will keep building better, nicer. So cool. So we've got the dream, we've got the apartment. You came here, so the dream wasn't all it was cracked up to be, or how did this impact the investment journey? Where'd we go from here?
So, I got married, became pregnant with twins, and this was about the GFC, Great Financial Crisis.
Okay, so right around 2008.
Yeah, 2008, 2009, and I decided to take a break 'Cause twins are a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
And so we went back and forth between New York and Florida, and then decided to make Florida full time, um, in part to the beaches
Yeah.
and the taxes. I know. And we have a really beautiful life there. And then one day in 2015, I was in Savannah just talking shop. I was there on like a family road trip, and I met up with an old business associate there. And so we were just like talking shop, and he showed me what he was doing. He was helping a small company run ads. And I looked at them, I looked at their social media, and I just really took a shine to them. And that became my first angel investment, in which I took half of my stock market profits. Like I said, I did everything wrong. I took half of my stock market profits and put it into this company. And, most books are like, don't put all your eggs in one basket, whatever. I teach differently. But I put half of my stock market profits, which is like 20 years of work, into this company because I took such a shine to them. And then I moved them to Miami, which was where I was, and, helped grow it.
Okay. And this is after having moved to Florida.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So we've got, I mean, I don't know how old you are, and I make a rule of trying not to ever ask, but like we've got a decade or more of like invested capital,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
compounding interest,
mm-hmm,
things doing well,
mm-hmm,
constant investment,
mm-hmm.
twins, new marriage, place in Florida. So obviously you're financially not bad off. You're doing pretty good.
Mm-hmm,
Okay.
mm-hmm.
Twins start getting old enough. You bump into a business
then I had
associate.
a son, so now
Okay.
it's 3.
3.
Yeah.
And at this stage, roughly plus or minus a year or two, you're meeting an old business associate,
Mm-hmm.
and just half. Like
Yeah.
if the portfolio's really any size, like you've worked on this for multiple decades to
Mhm.
put it together, half.
Half. Yes.
I'm
And that comes into play like later in the story.
I'm thinking you're a little crazy right now.
I'm a little, I'm a
it's
little
good.
crazy.
It's good
Yeah.
crazy, but I got to understand this, like half.
Yeah.
Like whether, I don't care if like you've worked 20 years to save $100,000 or $1 million or 10 million. What, half is a big freaking number.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think you have noticed, or you found with your guests, and especially with your philosophy of problems to profits, is that when you've overcome a lot of hardship in your life, now you have like a belief in yourself,
Mhm.
that can't be bought. And so that it was not in my awareness at the time, but I remember thinking, well, it's my money and I am me. There's no way I would let it fail.
So, and what I'm correlating it to, which because it's just is where you started with the knowing on Amazon as a gamer, which here's your dad saying high risk, whatever category it was in or whatever,
Mhm.
don't do it, and you knew, and now later in life, mom of 3, transitioned from New York to Florida. Like it's not like there's nothing going on, and half. So there's some kind of knowing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Describe that.
That's really a great awareness. So the company sold men's jewelry, which is a very niche market, but it was specifically gold chains. And like I said, I grew up in New York on the streets where, Goombas to the Russian mafia to, 50 Cent, everybody had a gold chain. Like it said something. And so I knew that. And I knew that it was like a timeless style. I mean, if you watch The Godfather that was made in the 70s, they're wearing gold chains. If you go to like Italy now, they're wearing gold chains. Like all the rappers, they have gold. It's just a timeless style that says something about, the wearer. And so, I immediately had this dream of what this company could be. Kind of like Ray Kroc, where he's like, they didn't even know what McDonald's, was, but he had the vision of, McDonald's. So it was similar to that.
So there was I love that you pointed out the niche. Like there's riches in the niches, and you knew that there was something that was very specific where there's not too many competitors competing for the same space.
No, it's not true. There was a lot of competitors.
Yeah?
Because the margins are insane. They're like 90%, 95%.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. So
but there was no clear leader.
Okay. So
just like Ray Kroc with the burgers, there's a ton of burger joints. But there was no McDonald's like the way he envisioned McDonald's.
So from a standpoint of a 90% margin, you're looking at the niche, and I'm projecting here, correct me if I'm wrong, as we have so much margin here that we can leverage this to take the lead space and better serve this market. Is this, am I close on where
Yeah?
Okay. And you had an awareness of what the market was because you'd seen it.
Yes.
Okay. And then obviously you said you moved the company. So you kept them in proximity. You didn't just give them money and let them go about their way.
Yes.
You kept them in proximity. And so it wasn't necessarily all an angel investment where you were like, here's some money, I trust you. There was you had a level of input and guidance.
Yes.
Based on the size of your investment and whatever else was in the negotiation to where, so you sound less crazy now. You were investing in yourself. But that number 50%, I was like, wait, what?
I know.
We have to play there. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But I mean, any investment in yourself, because you had a level of control, like where you can operate certain levers in the company. That makes sense.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. But that was kind of like in hindsight, because it was like, oh my God, I gave them so much money. Like, what are they going to do with it? I need some control.
Okay.
And so that's how the
get that?
decisions got made. Well, Miami was our second biggest market. And so the founders, they were like young men in their 20s, early 20s. So they were happy to go down there anyway. And I was, like in a startup, everybody wears like a ton of hats. And so, we needed a lot of help. And because I was so enamored with the company and with the vision that I had for them, it enabled me, to go in every day and work on the business.
Okay, this is cool. This is a fun business story. And so give us some of the journey of that, like, because this is one of the exits, I'm assuming, as well.
Yeah. So here's a story. Within 6 weeks of landing in Miami, moving everybody, the founding team, to Miami, one of the founders got addicted to cocaine and hookers.
Oh.
Because it's Miami.
Just cocaine and hookers.
Yeah.
How could you judge?
So he was our shipping manager. And because it's a physical products company, like, we need the shipping manager to be like on point, Especially when we're
hookers
growing.
might like gold chains. I mean, they probably retail great at pawn shops.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so we bought him out, kicked him out, back to mommy.
So early partnership lessons.
Yeah. Like I said, it was, I had so much belief in myself that I made a lot of mistakes, like not really looking at the founders. I was just looking at what I could make the company.
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't really recommend that.
No, but
to everybody.
I see a gold nugget of a lesson here. Like regardless of how you made the investment, maybe you didn't put enough controls in the investment on the initial one, you were able to, with your own charisma and your own ability to leverage whatever you leveraged, take control, and you invested in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And you were able to navigate what would have been very rough waters. Somebody told me once when I made a huge mistake. I made a horrible mistake with my bride. Okay. Treated her wrong, didn't handle things well.
Your bride?
My bride, my wife.
Oh.
And I was pretty sure she was going to leave me. I was like, man, I said some dumb shit. It was bad, right? And I didn't want her to leave me. I had focused on work. She had criticized it. I had made some choice comments. I was young and arrogant. All men are stupid at points, okay? And an old wise mentor, you know what he said to me? All you got to do is whatever the fuck it takes. And I was like, what does that mean? And he said, I don't know. That depends on her and you. Just do whatever the fuck it takes, and she can't leave.
Yeah.
You can't fail if you do whatever the fuck it takes. Like, you underestimate the power of the human spirit. Like, it's like, how much do you want this? And like, we are happily married today with 2 beautiful kids and a great life and plenty of fuck up stories.
Because you did whatever it took.
Whatever the fuck it takes is all you have to do. And like your story in this company, which I would probably have, I wouldn't advise anybody to go through and give 50% of their wealth to one company of 20-year-old testosterone-filled men that like hookers and cocaine. But, on the other side of that, like, I would definitely tell them, you need to go listen to somebody who not only survived that, but thrived as a result of exiting from that. Like, you're not starting with the story of a great relationship to a company. You're starting with a story of like, if this was dating, well, I started dating a dumbass. But I turned to this dumbass who was cheating on me, who was this, who was that, who was everything else, into a fucking gold mine. And, now he's the perfect husband, right?
Yeah.
Business and life are not that dissimilar. They can just operate faster, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm loving where this is going. Okay, keep going on. I'm having so much fun with this. And I know our listeners are going to eat this up.
So we steadily grew, by doing things like good business, org charts, operations, paying close attention to like how much we're spending, like just good business practices and things like that. Yes. Controls.
I'm assuming you brought a lot of this to the table.
I was the only adult in the room.
What's the age difference between you and the young men?
It was like about 15 years.
And you've got kids.
I've got kids.
You've got a family.
Mm-hmm.
You're seeing the requirement of balancing and organizing this structure.
Yep.
You've made investments. You've learned some of the fundamental laws of money and compounding. You've probably lost on investments in the short term and maybe ridden them back up in the long term.
Mm-hmm.
So you know how to not stress. How many partners are there?
So at that point, there were 3 founders left.
Okay. So after exiting the cocaine hookers guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then some other, they kind of just like fell away. They were like 22 years old.
Yeah. No, look.
Yeah. A lot of them were not that interested in business.
How many partners were there in this firm at the end, at the exit?
2 founder, 4.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And you're one of them.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. I'm loving the story of how you took what almost certainly would have been a raw deal. Like this would have been a dog.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you turned it into a great deal. Mm-hmm. But like the magic was you. Like hopefully those other founders, if you guys are still in good terms and everything, they're probably going to be calling you for their next investment.
They know.
So you said you exited 2. Like what was the other one?
So the other one, it was similar in that I saw something in like what they could be, and it was a digital marketing company. And
you mentioned this.
Yeah, and this time I did take a shine to the founders, who I thought were extremely creative. And as an art collector and a lover of art, I can tell when someone has sort of like that spark of creative genius in them. Not just genius, but creative genius. Because that means, that they would be able to, be problem solvers, and that they can create something in a world where, and now we're transitioning into like Web 2.0. So the internet was like expanding in many ways. If I was going to take a bet on somebody, they had to be a visionary in some way, and that were these two guys.
Okay, you call it picking, so I want to use your word, but it's like a picking with a knowing.
Yeah.
Like whether it's your first Amazon investment.
So in both of these situations, they were not looking for investments. They were not looking for investors. It was something I saw in them, and I came to them and said, hey, I think I can help you here.
But there's also, you loved it.
I loved it.
Yeah. Like, and I think there's a correlation and lesson there that I want to stay on for just a second before we go into more of this story, because this is going to be a good one too, I'm sure. But when there's like a relationship built on love is an essence. Like we call it an emotion. We're absolutely wrong. Love creates lots of other emotions that create biochemical functions in our body, and we can feel those biochemical functions, and then we associate it with love. But love is more like fire than any single emotion. It's like a compilation of emotions. Fire consumes, fire creates. Love consumes, love creates. So you're entering all of these knowings with like this level of passion and intensity that you're loving the product, you're loving the outcome, you're loving the now, you're loving the future. Like you're not just hitting like picking. Like there's a difference. I think a lot of people hear picking and they're thinking, oh, she's going to talk me picking stocks. You're vibing with something like your love of art is making you fall in love with aspects of this business where there's an emotional connection and you're picking. Like you're looking at fundamentals, but there's also a passion, which it kind of goes back to the whatever the fuck it takes thing.
Whatever the fuck it takes.
You're not going to have to worry of, do I have the energy to rise to the occasion and handle this if you're passionate about the thing?
Absolutely. Yes. I couldn't agree more. And, because I loved it, I cared. And, as someone who I'm sure has hired lots of employees, the employees that care, the people that care, like what they bring to the organization is like incalculable.
It's
versus,
two things.
Yeah, the people who are just like dialing in.
It's two things. And I tell everybody when we hire them, I'm like, if you want to be running this company, like if you want to be making millions of dollars a year, there's two things you have to be better at than anyone else: common sense and caring.
Wow.
If you can do those two things, and I love having women on my show, because when they're talking, like, men are so productive and performative and everything's like really cool. But like women, you bring an energy to it. All of my companies, by the way, are run by women.
Oh.
Because they're better at common sense and they're better at caring.
You are such a smart man.
Thank you. Thank you. Stop it. Keep it coming. More. No, but like.
Brilliant.
More.
Genius.
You're awesome. But it's interesting to see like kind of the nature of that, like, female shopper. Like, people identify women as like shoppers, right? Like, you guys are better, arguably, at being consumers than us men are. But you also have like wild common sense compared to us men. Like, if 10 men go out to a restaurant, some men are going to go with the decision of, I'm going to try to I'm going to go to the bathroom right when the check is ordered to escape the check. Other men is like, I'm going to compete to be the first to buy the table. Like there's some level of competition and performance in ego. You go out to lunch with 10 women and everybody's like, I'll take my check, please. And like, separate checks. And it's just like, it's so like, there's no weirdness about that. And like it's interesting to take like 5 men and 5 women to lunch and just not orchestrate who's paying beforehand and see the psychology of what happens at the end.
Yeah, yes.
It's women are better at consuming. They have more of a common sense relationship to money and interaction and trade and exchange. And by the nature that y'all give birth, you're a little better at caring too. Like anybody who's had a baby has had 10x the oxytocin in their body than anybody who hasn't.
Yes.
So you can understand the caring. And so anyway, I keep coming back to these common themes, but I think these are going to be some of the common themes of this episode that I really want to point out that everyone pays attention to.
Well, that's a lot of what I talk about on why women can be such great investors. And you touched on that they have the common sense and that they interface with the world in a lot of different ways because they are the nurturers. So whether it's, scheduling kids' activities, talking to the school teacher, cooking or shopping for the family, they interface with the world in so many various ways. And so because they do that, they have a more complete snapshot of the culturescape. And also because they have that, they are more likely to predict or forecast 6 months, 2 years, 5 years from now, which then makes them perfectly positioned to be good investors, if only anybody had told them that.
I think they're also, in with the forecasting piece in mind, more realistic.
Yes.
Like I can tell you, I've done plenty of investments. It's why I call myself a poor investor. I'm a great businessman. Thank God I've made enough money to survive the investments I've made. But the investments that have been brought to me by women more often than not go the way that they talked about it going. The ones
Which
that
is
have
what
been
you want.
right, yeah, or at least like if there are bumps, they're within their margin of error or close to it, right? Like the men have this like delusion of grandeur, which it's part of our nature. Like we're supposed to do that. I mean, like you go look at society and you're like, how come all the men have, like the highest net worth are mostly men? Well, most of them are married. They work a lot. Their wives spend. Who's richer? They're not all married to men. Most of them are married to women. So like, let's just, are all the people on top men? No. Some of them are just quieter and smarter and spending those men's money. Like it's not necessarily a bad place to be, like my kid was like shocked when he was like, "Dad, are you rich?" And I was like, "No, your mom's rich." I was like, "Why, what? Dad, but you earn all the money." I'm like, "And I go to work every day. And she spends all the money."
And you're rich in other ways.
Exactly. Like it's this, I don't know, like it's.
Yeah, so women are, like you said, they're innately built to be good investors because of the common sense and the caring part.
Mm-hmm.
So they're less likely to blow up their trading accounts or whatever.
The ego doesn't play the same significant factor that it does with men.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a posture in there. There's not a look at me. It's more of a I'm doing this because it makes this level of sense, like which plays into the common sense. Like sometimes like our ego is like part of our mind, if you want. Like the mind yells, the soul whispers. I think naturally women can be a little more spiritual than men, and they can listen to both sides of that equation.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I provide a lot of guardrails so that they can use their intuition and their powers of observation to pick. And then, like I said, because they're more innately suited to be investors, like the ego part, less risk-taking, things like that. All of that makes them very suitable to be like astute investors.
What's interesting, and it's almost like the paradox of it, because I think women are fascinating in the business and investing world, is women may have advantages in the investing space, but it's very rare for us to see that because women also are generally going to be traditionally a little more fearful than men. Women are not going to be on the front line as soldiers as often as men will. Women are not going to, take some of the, like, there's more men in prisons for violent crimes than women. They're not going to have some of the more risk-taking approach. So that fear-based nature, a lot of times, keeps women from being willing to invest.
Yes.
And
yes.
I think when someone like yourself can come out and say, hey, like, of course there's risk, but there's actually more risk in not doing it. Here's why. Let me break it down. No different than the lunch we would all go to. Like, I think it makes it possible for them to express in that way and overcome the issue. Like if you're predisposed to have more success based on your nature, but you're also predisposed to have a little more fear of risk.
Yeah.
There needs to be more leadership coming out and saying, hey, look, it's not as bad as you think. Like how many women survive childbirth? This is less risk.
Absolutely. Yeah. And a lot of women have the story that money and especially investing or finances is not their domain. Leave it to their brothers, fathers, husbands. But if they were empowered by simply just understanding, and by somebody who's been in the game like me, if they were empowered to understand that, hey, how I'm built actually makes me suited for investing, then, they might not be as fearful.
Yeah, and would probably have disproportionately more success than their equally educated male counterparts due to less, I would call it more emotional maturity.
Yes, 100%. I mean, if you look at like the greatest investor, like Warren Buffett, like not only does he know how to pick it, but what does he do? He just like sits on it. He just sits on it.
And he's
not trading.
He's very relationship driven to what he's doing as well. He won't go into it unless he loves it. He has massive common sense. He generally goes into things that he has enough capital to go in and control it if he needs to, like See's Candy, like Coca-Cola, like Geico. Like, I mean, he's following almost the exact metrics that you're describing in your exits.
Yes.
So, okay, this is awesome.
Yeah.
I'm loving all the like pieces that are coming out of this. So walk us through this company and like take us through kind of the exit of this one.
Okay, so when I found them, they were making, I think, about $2 million annual revenue. And then last year, it was $150 million.
Wow.
Yes, just making websites.
That's a lot of websites or a lot of money for websites. That's amazing.
Well, now they've gone into advertising and, a lot of, I think maybe 2024 or 2023 Super Bowl, we had like 13 or 14 commercials. Like
well, that's
I said,
a cool story.
They were very creative.
Well, and it's a different level than like the, hookers and cocaines from the first time. I mean,
yeah. Even though they were only a few years older. No, they were like 10 years older. Okay, there was a difference.
10 years makes a big difference for us men. Trust me. Like 20 years is like magic. 10 years is a big difference.
Yeah.
Find us in our 20s. Maybe like hold off on the investment till we're in late 30s. Like let us have some maturity.
Yeah, they were like married already. Okay.
Some level of balance and stability.
Yes.
Some willingness to accept a woman's influence in some aspect or area of our lives. That's awesome. So they're doing $2 million to $150 million in revenue. What's this timeline?
It was 2000. It was about the same time. 2015, 2021.
So we're talking about a 6-year path. That's gorgeous. What were some of the trials and tribulations you saw working with them on a 6-year path to 150 million? That's very aggressive. It's awesome. It's exciting. But there's some bumps in the roads here. Take us through that. I guarantee you have some good stories there.
Actually, no, not really.
Really?
Yeah. It was just sort of like the growing pains of like needing to hire, very quickly. So I did not work with them as closely as the Miami company, who I felt really needed the benefit of like a mother hen / school mistress, headmistress.
So as investments, I would go with this one. Sounds like a much better investment. It's a much more capable set of entrepreneurs.
Yes, they were very serious. They were very responsible, and it was in a growing, industry, digital marketing, and so that was a lot easier to not give me headaches.
But 6-year timeline, more mature investor, not 50% of your portfolio. I'm assuming
50%.
Again?
Also, yeah, that's what I did.
You did
50%
50% twice.
Yeah, I did that, and I split it in half.
So, it was the same time.
It was the same time.
You did 100%.
Yeah.
Jeez. You're awesome. And you exited both.
I know. Lightning in a bottle.
Wow.
Yeah.
You have a guardian angel. I'm pretty sure you have like a very aggressive guardian angel, like that is I mean, I love the pivotal points of the story because like there is a knowing, there is a love, but 100%.
Yeah. So like at least with me, if there's like the love and the knowing, as I've seen, with my stock market investing, I want more exposure to the upside.
Can
means
I
put more
participate next time you have a knowing?
Yes.
Okay, like I want to be your first call.
Okay.
Golly. So, this is super cool. Now, you've made other investments along the road. You've had wins, you've had losses. We've talked about 2 huge wins. Tell us about some losses.
So the biggest loss is, and this is not related to investing, is the death of my husband in 2019.
Oh, wow.
So when that happened, there was no will. There was nothing set in place because we didn't want to look at it. It was like too morbid. And we had talked about it, but we didn't want to like really put anything on paper or whatever. And so when that happened, because there was no will, everything got locked up like immediately. And I had no access to cash or credit cards or whatever. And where we were living, our expenses were almost like $40,000 a month.
And you're basically going right into some type of probate situation.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, immediately. And so I moved back to New York because that's where I had some support in the form of my parents.
Well, and your businesses for like 2015 to 2021. So this is like mid-growth cycle.
Yeah. Yeah.
How's all your hair not gray? Like
I know. Well, God.
This is like, okay.
Yeah. We had like 10x and then 10x and, like you think you only 10x once, usually that's the case. So yes, we were growing very fast. And then this happens. But then the partners that I talked about in the jewelry company, they actually betrayed me. And so they got greedy and wanted, my part of the company back.
And of course they're using this timing and your circumstance.
Yeah, they did it. It was all calculated.
All of a sudden the guy with the hookers and the cocaine is looking like the ethical one.
Yeah. So that was emotionally a very hard time. And when I got to New York, so they did things like they took my credit cards and, we would do Facebook ads and they ran it up to like, I was like $200,000, $300,000 on the American Expresses, didn't pay them. So my credit score went straight to 400. It was unbeknownst to me.
You're dealing with something.
Yeah. And months before, they had been paying it, but they just kind of took an opportunity because I think they thought like, oh, she's weakened. So no cash, no credit, And
mom of three.
Major
loss.
Major
Moving.
loss. Yeah. And I was like, how am I going to do this? And I applied for government assistance, food stamps.
So from millionaire to right back.
Right back.
Down. Wow.
Almost overnight. And didn't see it coming. So completely unprepared. And this was like right before the pandemic when people were working in the offices.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would say mom hours don't fit into office hours because I couldn't take the kids to school and then pick them up from school and kind of like be a mother that they needed during this like very delicate time of grief and heartbreak, So I was trying to piece together like a living with Starbucks, driving for DoorDash, maybe waitressing on the side or whatever, but it's New York City. Like we talked about, how expensive is New York City? So I couldn't get the math to work. And then I remember like I got a lot of offers from people like, with startups and whatever. And I'm like, but you can't eat equity. So I needed cash money. So I'm like, what the fuck do I do now? I mean, there were days like I couldn't buy dinner for the kids. I couldn't afford groceries. My friends would like Venmo me like $100 and then, like to buy dinner. So what I did was I sold my wedding ring, which I didn't want to. And I had
do what you have to.
Yeah. I had a little pot of money and then I put it back into the market.
You went back to investing.
Yeah. And at that point, I had not ever invested for income. I never invested for income. I never
You're doing
needed
like
it that way.
Probably options, trade, swing trading, day trading.
All sorts of things.
You have bigger balls than any man I've ever met.
Oh, Preston.
You are a fascinating person. This is really good. Like, so you sell your wedding ring. You have a small pocket of money. Come from hell, like straight out of like on the boat overseas, like rise all the way up to the top, investing in startups, taking like massive risk, unlimited opportunity. Life gets derailed by like loss that most people don't expect to experience, especially not like at your age, right? And at the stage of life you're in, like that's supposed to be 40, 50 years later.
Yes.
Right? And everyone rushes for security. You do the contrarian thing. And you have another knowing.
Yeah. Do you want to hear the story?
Yeah. I'll break up 4 more hours for you. Let's go. This is fucking like gold.
So it was.
Do you have a cape on behind your shirt? Like, this is so great.
So it was the end of 2019. And I had resigned myself that I could not find office employment and I wasn't going to go work for a startup because I needed cash. And so it was the end of 2019 and I saw an article on CNBC about Disney Plus, the streaming service. And I was like, oh, wow, that's interesting. Disney has such a huge library of content. And that is, their own IP. So I'm like, this will be interesting. And then I was like, I bet when news of and this was on CNBC, but I was like, I bet when news of this gets out on like mainstream media that Disney is launching a streaming service, who is the king of streaming services, Netflix, their stock was going to take a hit. Because, now we have this huge competitor. And then I was like, the stock is going to take a hit. And then months later, people will see, well, Disney is just Disney. Disney's not going to have the Ozarks. Disney's not going to have Peaky Blinders. They're not going to have Stranger, whatever it is that Netflix has. And then Netflix's stock will go back up. So that was my investment thesis. So I used this tiny pot of money and I put it into Netflix right before the lockdowns. And then you remember what happened to all of these? Yeah.
I made a bunch of money on Netflix.
Yeah. And that to me, I felt was like a tap, like from God.
And I was mad that I hadn't bought more Netflix because I had a friend that basically said, you need to buy Netflix. And he was like a guy that had given me some coaching and mentorship in the past. And years later, he had a similar thesis to you that he told me. And I was like, bro, why didn't you tell me that then?
Wow.
So you just have this knowing that like this is coming out and you're...
Yeah. Plus Netflix was a company that I invested in, way earlier.
Yeah.
So it was a company and stock that I knew.
And so this is 2019, 2020 timeframe. Okay.
And then, so, we locked down. I left New York City also because of a knowing. I told the kids like in January when it was just like in Wuhan, I was like, this is a big deal. China's locked down. We have to leave New York. And then my mom and all my friends were like, you're a single woman. You have 3 kids. Like you're the biggest target. You can't leave and go into the unknown. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. New York is going to be like a shit show like you've never seen if COVID gets discovered like on our shores, which I already knew was like there. And so we drove south to Florida and I bought like a camper van. And then, we saw New York City was decimated.
How did you get to Austin? Because here we sit now.
Yes.
4 or 5 years later, like.
So it was also, I felt like a tap from God, me buying this trailer like in Salt Lake City before everybody decided to get into like van life. And then there were like waiting lists and everything. But I ordered it, I think like in also end of 2019. And so it was ready like early 2020. And so we left New York and drove to Salt Lake City to pick up the trailer, which I towed with my Model X. Then really cut the mileage down to like 90 miles, the whole battery. Anyway, and so because the whole world was locked down, except for national parks, we just camped for like 2 years. Well, I'm trading. You can't actually trade in like Yellowstone because there's no internet. But yeah, mom and the kids.
Doing van life and probably homeschool and
homeschool, yeah.
And trading.
Yeah.
This is brilliant. God, I wish I had like 3 more hours for this. So
we'll do a part 2.
You have a Pillars of Investing course that I think you're looking at launching or you've launched, right?
Yeah. So I'm going to do it again live. It might be the last time that I do live. And what it is it teaches my framework of intuitive investing, like how I was able to pick winners like Amazon in 1997, Apple in 2001, NVIDIA in 2002, like a bunch of IPOs like Google, Chipotle, Palantir IPOs. So it's going to teach that.
Netflix during COVID.
During COVID. No, Netflix right before COVID. So we're gonna start with that all the way to when to buy and when to sell. So I'm probably gonna launch that near the end of the summer because me and the kids are doing some traveling.
You're literally that rare exception to all the standard rules. Like I'm excited about your course. I might want to take your course as well. Like that sounds.
Yeah, and send your kids. I teach a lot of kids how to invest.
I think that would be something very interesting, like, because you actually lived it. Like now you have these two exits, which I think are like, it's funny. There's the analogy of the flower. Like, how do you grow the most beautiful flowers? Well, you start with a seed and a pile of shit, right? And the pile of shit buries the seed. The seed is literally buried in shit. And later, 6 weeks later, 8 weeks later, just a little water, just that life fluid. You see all these beautiful ladies walking down, leaning right over 6 inches, 8 inches above a pile of shit to smell a flower. And like your life, especially from like 2019 on, mirrors that. Like you not only traded your way back into success, but then like God, the universe, I call him God. I think uni means one and verse is only just a single part of a song. Like I don't want one part. I want the whole song. I want the whole songbook. But like God comes in and blesses you with two exits. One on a crazy investment and the other one on what sounds like a really good investment. And one where guys literally did you wrong and you still came out ahead. After you didn't need it.
Yeah.
Wow. What a magical story. And you have a framework that you're going to teach to show people how not to need the miracle. Like you're literally a story. Do you know what's better than a miracle?
What?
Not needing one. You know what's better than not needing one?
What?
Getting one anyway. It's called a blessing. And so you became the miracle instead of needing one and like invested your way through it. And then here comes the blessing. And normally the blessings come when you don't need the miracle anymore. And it's just like, it's this magic story and you're going to teach it. I'm so excited for you. Thank you so much for coming on Problems to Profit. I'm excited for everybody to be able to listen to this, like hear your story. Like, thank you for your vulnerability, by the way. And like, hopefully learn from you in the future.
Thank you, Preston.
Thank you.
It was so much fun.
This is an honor. Guys, we don't go that vulnerable, that deep, that fast with most people. What an angel who's getting angel investment, angel exits, and just an angelic story of Problems to Profit that she's giving to you with ultimate vulnerability, which I think adds to the credibility she already deserves on her track record, but just the authenticity she shows. Wow. Tulin, thank you so much for coming on the show. You're amazing. And you guys have an amazing day on purpose. We'll see you next time.